Hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest installment of Distant Voices. My name is Andy Pruitt, and I'm the Assistant Arts and Culture Editor with Willamette Week. And today, I'm joined by Andrew Barton, a local preschool teacher and also renowned storyteller. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
You're on a boat. I love it. Like, that just brings a smile to my face seeing you in there. But why are you in a canoe?
Well, shortly around the beginning of the pandemic and the stay-home recommendations, one of my housemates got an email that I believe came from the Willamette Week that was about settling into working at home, and it said, "Hey, you could work anywhere you have a Wi-Fi connection in this age. You could work in a canoe." And then we joked about what it would be like for me to work, since my work is about interacting with little humans, from a canoe. And then this was sort of what I came up with. And then I said, why not start that as a way to share stories with the students and families that I'm not seeing anymore.
So that's one way you've adapted then, since normally you would be at school or even farmers markets reading to kids. What have you done with your videos to try to reach out and connect during this time?
Well, I basically just started making them and shared the list first with the families at my school, and then with some former families from other classes I've had before, and then people have just started sharing it around, and it's been nice to hear that, there's children who I don't even know very well who have been watching them every day and enjoying it. So it seems like a little something that I can do and bring some joy and celebration of quality children's literature out into the world right now.
Absolutely. Have you gotten any specific feedback from either kids or parents about how appreciative they are of this?
I have gotten some very sweet letters, directly emails, emails to the owner of my school that she forwarded with me, a couple of videos of kids thanking me. Recently, a student drew a picture of me in the canoe, and then her mother sent me a video of her introducing the picture and showing it. So it seems like it's being well received and enjoyed by both the small people and the parents.
That is stinking adorable, and I think something we absolutely need right now to warm our hearts. Do you have a favorite book to read, whether that was in more normal times or like right now?
Well, the very first book that I read for Teacher Andrew Reads in a Canoe is Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steig. And it's one of my all-time favorite books, and I chose it for a reason. In part, it was one that I had an old edition of that wasn't even at school, because when this started, I didn't have many of my books here at home. And so that's the one that the most people have viewed and was kind of the thing that started it all. It's a story kind of about waiting without really planning on having to wait. So I think it's also sort of poignant in these times.
Definitely a theme that fits with what we're all experiencing right now.
Yeah.
So you're not only in a boat, but you're in a backyard, your backyard. And
Yeah.
I think we've got some surprise guests in the background there. Kind of introduce us to who you share your living space with.
Well, behind me here, there's several chickens. I think there's 4 or 5 out. Oh, actually, I see there's 7 of them. And they're regularly in the background. And we have a few small rabbits in a little garden tractor there. They're eating the cover crop now. And there's also a dog and a cat who live here, Dave and Whiskey, and they make occasional appearances, sometimes in the canoe, sometimes just come around. And that's it, yeah. But lots of animal life around here.
What's your secret then to staying sane in a health crisis?
I think it's cooking and eating, and that's, I feel grateful and privileged that that's kind of just generally my favorite thing to do. So we've been spending a lot of time at this house just making every meal count, either, eating down the pantry and then intentionally shopping and starting growing, knowing that probably over the course of this year we'll be eating at home more than ever. And it's been a nice kind of return to simplicity of just, caring the most about that moment of nourishment.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate.
Yeah.
Once we return to some semblance of normalcy, what's the first thing you're looking forward to doing?
I think seeing friends and being able to hug them. We've had a few visits, socially distant, of course, but the end is always the hardest. And I hope to be able to, share that sort of physical expression of appreciation and love. Though I also will enjoy just like going to a coffee shop and sitting down and drinking some coffee and reading a book.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to have you share a story with our Willamette Week readers, and it looks like you came prepared. Tell us about the book you brought, and go ahead and then give it a read.
Sure thing. This is an all-time classic, which I chose because many people are probably familiar with it, and it's also one that I do have distinct memories from my own childhood of reading. It's The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. Shall I read it now?
Yeah, go for it. Thank you.
All right. This is the fun end paper showing the streets of Madrid and the posters leading up to the bullfights. The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. Once upon a time, in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid that he would be lonesome all by himself. "Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head?" she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. "I like it better here, where I can sit just quietly and smell the flowers." His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. You'll notice he's got his years notched up there on the tree. All the other bulls who had grown up with him since in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. Bullfights, Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around, snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very strong and fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care, so he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that was just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt! Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in their cart. What a day it was! Flags were flying, bands were playing. And all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the banderillos with their long, sharp pins and ribbons on them to stick the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. And then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome. He bowed to the lady. He had a red cape, sword. He was supposed to stick the bull last of all. And then came the bull. And you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderos were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around.
Yeah, I mean, like, he'll take it off.
But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderos were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand home. And for all I know, he's sitting there still, under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. The end.
Yay! Thank you. I think a story about a pacifist bull is what everybody needs right now.
Exactly, yes. We can all just use that message of it being perfectly okay to sit and smell the flowers.